If you are a normal viewer of the channel, you'll probably notice that we look a little bit different.
Yep.
I am sick, so we are filming separately.
Yep.
I am 95% sure that it's just a sinus infection. It's a usual head cold. I get them all the time. But out of an abundance of caution, we're going to be separate.
I also don't want a cold, so.
Well, if it's a sinus infection, that's not contagious.
Well, sure.
I went by the place where they were doing the testing, and they weren't there today. They should be back on Monday.
But for a couple days, you might be seeing us like this.
And also on that note, I'm tired and don't feel like doing this, so this will probably be short and to the point, because this was...
I also don't have a lot to say.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice-weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. Before we get started, I did want to say, because we have not told the podcast feed, we're in the process of transitioning into YouTube. We're doing video, and we are doing weekly coverage of Riverdale and WandaVision and Drag Race over on our YouTube channel. We try to have it up that night. Sometimes it's late. It should be there by the next morning.
Yep.
But if you want to watch Riverdale or WandaVision or Drag Race with us weekly, you can head on over to youtube.com/So I'm Watching This Show.
That's correct.
So, Malcolm and Marie.
Yes.
I will carry you. I will carry you. You want control, because you can't imagine the reason I'm with you is because I love you. Everything that you've been through, everything, that's what made you you. The girl that I love, the girl that I fuck with. I will carry you.
All I wanted tonight was a thank you, Malcolm. That is it. Hold on to me for dear life.
This movie, it's the first that I know of, certainly the first mainstream quarantine movie.
Yeah. When
the pandemic hit last year, as I understood it, Zendaya was feeling restless, was feeling cabin fever, and her Sam Levinson is kind of her creative partner at this point. And he wrote this story largely, I think, kind of for her.
I think so, too. She's also a producer on this movie, which is pretty legit. And I think they kind of developed it together.
It was like a skeleton crew.
22 people, apparently.
Okay, yeah. And they did it in 2 weeks, and they did all the stuff and all that. And so, for that, I want to really sort of congratulate this production. They did something. And like I said, to my understanding, they were sort of the first to do it. And I think that's always incredibly admirable. And someone's got to be the first. Someone's got to, get out there and get the ball rolling. And I'm glad that they did something. Yeah. I'm glad that they really went for it, and that they found a responsible use of their time and energy. And
I want to say that I agree with everything that you just said. I also just, like, by leagues prefer Sam Levinson when he can be Sam Levinson. This is just, it's like these last 2 episodes of Euphoria that were like in between season 1 and 2, and then this movie, it's very, very like if somebody put him on a leash, essentially. And I don't necessarily think that's bad, and I think it's actually fascinating watching him work within these constraints, because
in a Hays Code kind of way.
Yeah, and if there's something I can say that is without fault, it is his writing. I mean, I think the writing is exceptional across all 3 of those things, but it's like I miss that Sam Levinson vibe, like the thing that's so cool about Assassination Nation and the regular episodes of Euphoria. I mean, this is just like a play, like they put a play on camera, and I liked it, but it's not what I want from Sam Levinson. Long as
a play.
Well, I also really liked Betrayal when we saw it on Broadway, and you were very medium on it, so.
You want to know how to get me into live theater? No sets or costumes. Just a chair.
Just one
That'll
chair.
really, that pulls me
Look,
in.
there was a table and another chair and a bottle of wine at one point, okay?
Well, actually, I don't know if this is famous, so let me allow myself to introduce myself to you. I don't date. This is
Okay.
why.
Because people are like this?
Yeah,
Okay,
I have
okay.
I have no interest. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not. I felt like Jennifer Lawrence watching Phantom Thread.
Sure.
I got like a minute and a half into this,
You
and
were
I
like,
was
"I
like,
got it."
"Ooh." I was like, nope.
When are we wrapping up?
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Would you say there are 5 acts?
I don't really know because to my knowledge, it's not. I don't.
It could have ended after each individual act.
It could have. It could have ended
and
after
it just kept going.
every single fight. The thing, because it basically is, they sort of are having one big fight over the course of the night because he has forgotten to thank her. Not even in an acceptance speech. It's just like the premiere of his movie, and he forgot to thank her in his like opening speech. And then it basically is this one big fight that actually is sort of interspersed with moments of levity, which are a delight. The moments of levity are a delight. And that's not to say that John David Washington and Zendaya both are not acting their socks off in the fight scenes, but it's also just like, oh my God, the fight scenes. Like, it's so much. It's such a play thing because they're just speaking. I mean, I'm about to say something that sounds so stupid, but they're literally just bald-faced speaking their feelings. And I'm just like, the only moment I was compelled by the actual fight scenes in a way beyond, aren't these actors amazing, is when Zendaya had the knife. And then I was like, what is going on? I was like, this is a different thing than I signed on for.
Well, that's where the Sam Levinson comes in, though.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I really appreciated it was in what I would call Act 2. It was like 2/5 through the movie when he sort of said something to the effect of, okay, so is it over? Will we be good in the morning? And she's like, I haven't decided yet. And I really that felt authentic to me. That I really enjoyed that, where it's like, which one side I was on went back and forth.
Me too.
I was on her side more than his.
Me too.
Because she was being more honest, I suppose.
Hers wasn't filtered through the artifice of an artist also having to defend his work. And so her stuff was all very emotionally present. And like, she basically was doing that thing that you love where she was like, you hurt my feelings and this is why. And so I was on her side a lot more too within the fight between the two of them. I was on his side when he was talking shit about the critics. Because he was correct.
So funny. It was so, but it also, for me, if I had to choose, then yes, I would say he was correct.
Yeah.
But also, I was sort of like, dude, why don't you yourself get over it? Like,
no,
what is she supposed to do? Because it's like, so the entire movie, I was just sort of like begging the heavens for a confessional from Taylor.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I just wanted to smash cut.
Either Taylor or the white bitch from the LA Times. Yeah. One of the two.
I was like, I cannot trust either of these narrators. Yeah. I need a third. And of course I'm imagining Taylor Swift. I cannot fathom that they would name that character Taylor and not think the audience wasn't going to go there.
I mean,
but I don't know. There was a part of me that was like, I need a third perspective into this.
Yeah.
And I was on her side in the sense that he was saying what he thought he needed to say to make this go away so it could get back to being about him.
Yeah.
And, this was sort of a male, I guess it doesn't need to be gendered, but this is his wedding day, effectively.
Sure.
So I think that it has a right to be about him, but her issue was not that he made a mistake and needed to apologize. It's like if somebody does something wrong or makes an accident and then it's like, well, then apologize or make amends or whatever. And it's like, it's fine and I'll get over it. It's like, her betrayal, there's not an apology. Like,
well, right. It's because
you can't, it's like, no, it's from a trust level. And that's my issue with relationships. Is I was like, how can you be in a relationship with someone if you don't trust them?
No, you can't. I mean, it's not a healthy relationship. You can stay, but it's not going to be healthy. And that's the thing that I think was actually fascinating about this, is the way that it kind of weaves together their story, where it's like you said, you really shift sides in the fight during, like, you're like, well, he's making some points and she's making some points, but like his points are self-serving and her points are like in defense of self. And I think that that's really interesting. The fact that she was like, the thing, like, and it's something that comes in later, obviously, but she basically gets to a point where she was like, it's not really any of the things we've argued about so far. It's this like overarching thing where like, I believe that this would have been better had I been more involved, and you didn't really give me that fair shot. And I think that that's like, it's a lot more self-introspective for her, and it's a lot more self-centered for him. Like, his reasons for being in this fight are a lot more self-serving, and she really is just trying to get her point across. And I want it known that she tries to say, eat your mac and cheese and go to bed and we'll talk about this in the morning. And
that cannot, he will not.
Will not let it lie. So this is all his fault. Even if he had thanked her, this is all his fault.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because he wouldn't just take a beat and like go to bed.
I also completely agree that he only cares about her when he thinks he could lose her.
Yeah. And she says that to him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Frankly, because I didn't understand that last scene until just now.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a way to interpret that last scene, is that when she's not there, suddenly he's panicked and needs to find her.
Well,
you know
and
what I mean?
happens at the midpoint, too. She goes outside and he, like, when he's playing... Okay, also the soundtrack in this movie, it does a lot of the heavy lifting to be... I mean, the actors are doing so much, but I want to know how much Sam Levinson paid for music in this movie. And it's so impressive. So he's listening to that song that's like basically saying, I'm so sorry. And then she goes outside and you think it's just to smoke another cigarette because she's done that a couple times already. And then he realizes she's not there and he goes and walks around the whole house looking for her. And she says she went outside to pee because she didn't grow up with a yard, which is
and the novelty hadn't worn off yet.
Hasn't worn off. Amazing. And so you're right, because he freaks out then too. He's like, I didn't know where you were. And it's like, I mean, she's a grown up. I'm sure she's fine. And you're right. It's very telling that he only cares about her well-being and her placement when it is like affecting him personally.
I feel like I can't actually critique this movie, even though we don't really consider ourselves critics. I feel like I can't critique it because the movie sort of built into itself.
Yeah.
Like an epic takedown of the art of critiquing. So it's like, I want to say it didn't really feel authentic, but like right in the middle of the movie, there's a whole thing about how you can't say that or what does that mean?
This fucking stupid. Later, when Amani finds herself at her ex-boyfriend's house for begging for a fix, Elliot uses tight lenses. It's the fucking same lens. Claustrophobia. One begins to question his intentions and reveling in the trauma of his black female heroine for so long. It's a scene better implied than depicted. If not for the restraint of his own picture, then merely to separate itself from an exhaustive history that depicts gendered violence against women of fucking color. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me, ma'am? Are you fucking... In the next line, oh shit, she says it's a genuine masterwork, a genuine fucking masterwork. I can't read this fucking shit anymore.
I thought it was very authentic.
Well, then maybe this is why I don't date, because it's like, I don't understand being committed to someone that you're competing with, or that you don't trust, or that you don't like. In Miley Cyrus's new album, there's a song where she said, I've always been a taker, or I always picked a giver because I've always been a taker. And there are dynamics and relationships. And I'm just like, how do these two people not know what their dynamic is? And maybe this is the moment that it boils over.
Yeah, this is basically going to be the catalyst, whether one or both of them elects to make some changes or they sort of self-destruct. I mean, this is not the roadmap for a successful relationship. That's not I mean, they don't really trust each other. They don't communicate well. They are competing.
You
with each
cannot
other.
have the amount of animosity they had
Right.
and the amount of like bullets they had loaded. I was like, you can't go around like that.
No,
like,
of course not. I mean, that's the point. This is not a healthy relationship. This is not a romance. This movie is not a romance. And this is the type of thing that you can't take into a relationship that you're hoping to succeed. I think that there also comes a point in relationships where you basically get to a point like this and you realize, oh, we are not compatible in the long term. We don't really know. I guess that we assume they've been dating about 5 years because he says when you were 20 and then there's a reference to 5 years
how
ago.
old is he meant to be? That felt weird. Is he older than her?
Well, in real life he is. So I would assume.
I think it was in the that felt like an element to the story as well.
But that's the thing is, I mean, that's what makes it so realistic to me is that sometimes in relationships, you do have those bullets locked and loaded. And there are different types of relationships where sometimes those bullets you have loaded are the ones that kill the relationship. And sometimes they just need to get shot in the air so everyone's on the same page.
I'm sort of playing it back in my mind, thinking if there's things I want to talk about. When he went to go pee and he walked back in the room and she was crying, I was like...
Well, it was like, no, okay, no shade. This, like, the whole thing is obviously toxic and kind of gross, but it was like, on the one hand, she was like trying to have this honest thing, and on the other hand, he was just literally trying to get his dick wet on like a nice day in his life, and it like almost happened 4 times.
Yeah, and again, it's like I am. If I had to choose, I'm more so on her side. However, I really am giving him a lot of stuff with the let him have this day, you know.
Well,
and
she was trying to though.
Yeah,
at the beginning, she was like, "I don't want to talk about this tonight. Go to bed."
The macaroni and cheese was so funny.
So funny. And he was eating it like it wronged him. He was like, "Urgh."
I didn't like his attitude. I didn't like the way that it was just very male in this way that I was like, dude, I mean, you either appreciate what you have or you don't.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I
agree. Especially because, like...
And I put Zendaya on a pedestal.
Of course,
so.
we all do. But the thing, especially for me, where he was like... He basically got a rave review from the white bitch at the LA Times. And he was like... only focusing on the points that made him angry. And I can recognize that. I can understand that instinct, but it's also like, she called you like a genius. Like,
well, and I'm like, what is she supposed to say?
Right.
Like, because again, where I was like, I wanted to know Taylor's perspective. I wanted to know her perspective, where I was like, I mean, maybe, I don't know where she's at in her career.
Yeah.
Maybe she feels like this is what she's meant to say.
Sure.
Like, maybe, I don't know. It just kind of, it's one of the things that, I mean, as two white people, I'll go ahead and just speak for myself. It gives me anxiety because there's times where I'm like, well, am I speaking on my experience or what I perceive to be your experience?
Sure.
Or, you know, and he tried to pull like the race shouldn't be a factor. And she kind of was like, of course it's a factor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially, you know, there were so many moments. I also, from the vibe of what you get for what his movie is about, you know, to me, it doesn't seem like a leap to imagine that it is about, you know, the issues with the medical community and, you know, women of color. Like, that feels like, just because that's the story you were telling doesn't mean it doesn't have a deeper meaning, you know?
And furthermore, you know, I mean, I absolutely believe that an artist should have some authority over their art.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that people can't also interpret it. Like,
of course,
I think an artist can have a final say and say, here's what it means to me.
Yeah.
But once it's created, you don't own it.
Yeah.
Like it belongs to whoever sees it and how they feel about it. And so it just kind of, and that's why I thought it was funny. And especially it was very beneficial that she found it so amusing that she was laughing at his little temper tantrum.
Her reactions throughout, I mean, so excellent. Just Zendaya, a round of applause for Zendaya, because I'm continually impressed with her. And this is her first like adult leading role. And I'm just really, I'm for it. I'm very impressed.
I mean, all in all, I found it pretentious. I found it kind of, it was way too long. It was too long. There was no excuse.
I think it could have easily shaved off 30 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was pulling it up on Wikipedia, and the first 3 news stories, The Atlantic just says Malcolm and Marie isn't art, it's a meltdown. And then Vulture says the utter emotional inauthenticity of Netflix Malcolm and Marie. And so, I mean, it's kind of, it has a 58, so that's mixed. That's almost fresh, but as a crafted work of art, I think it was very good. I didn't particularly like it.
I'm not going to be, I've seen it and I'm good.
I think it was well made.
I'm not going to put it on. Randomly, but I liked it. I thought it was actually pretty funny.
I appreciated it.
Yeah, Will and I were laughing at kind of a lot of it, like especially after the scene with Zendaya and the knife, and she walks away after she's like, "That's what you get for authenticity," and John David Washington just has this like sort of gesture and like face, and it's hysterical. I really really liked a lot of it, but I agree that it was too long. And I agree that it was a little bit pretentious. And I mean, it's not my cup of tea all the time, but I'm glad that it exists.
For my money, I would rather see people actually communicating. And this felt like games to me. It felt like, I felt like I had to be on guard the entire time. I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And it just sort of, it felt like I was like, I don't want this. Let's not. And that's sort of my thing is I think in order to be in like a truly good or a healthy relationship, you have to care about the other person as much as you care about yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And they were competing too much, and it was like, this is just, I mean...
No, I agree, and again, I would have to stress that this is not meant to be a portrait of a healthy relationship.
Okay.
This is absolutely toxic behavior.
I'm writing notes, I'm like,
No, they I believe truly that they love each other, but I don't believe they always like each other, and I don't think either of them is, I think she might be to a point. He is not as invested in this relationship as he is in what it can gain him.
Well, or the idea of it.
Yeah.
I mean, so many artists are obsessed with the idea of being an artist.
Yeah.
And socially, we heap so much bullshit onto like the tragic, and there's a volatility, and there's just all kinds of blah, 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 blah.
Well, and you have to assume that she has some kind of, not necessarily hero worship, but she must feel a little beholden to him because he, helped her when she was at her worst and put her in rehab and like was there for her after. And so there's like it's a very unbalanced relationship, but it's weirdly unbalanced for both of them, just in different ways. I thought it was a really fascinating study of this relationship. It's not something I want all the time, and I'm ready for this pandemic to be over because for many, many, many reasons, I want this pandemic to be over, but I want Sam Levinson to be able to do what he does again. I
want the dream sequences back. I want the musical numbers back. I want
multiple characters in the room together.
I kind of wish there was like, I like this being in black and white, but I kind of like wish like the macaroni and cheese was gold or something. Like I wish there was a weird pop of color somewhere.
Like
I don't
just
know.
Her dress, like her dress sparkling. Yeah.
Maybe it's the Sin City in me, but so yeah, I mean, cool.
All right, well, you can watch Malcolm and Marie streaming on Netflix right now as we speak. I'd be interested to hear what other people think. So let us know on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave us a comment what you thought about the movie. I'm very curious to get a like wider cross section of what people thought about this, because I think it's like a really neat character study. I'm curious. So yeah. Other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube.
We're trying to, subscribe on, I meant to say that in the beginning too. Subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000.
Yep.
We'll unlock some stuff, so you don't have to watch any of the videos, just subscribe.
Just subscribe. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, and then I think that's it for us.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.